Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing a super exciting video, and a video that I wanted to do but didn't really know how or if I was going to be able to do it properly or do it justice. But I finally have just kind of bit the bullet, and my mom was like, why don't you film that kind of video? And I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. So this is my how I go about planning a Disney vacation, step by step, what I do to make sure that I'm going to have the best vacation, that I'm going to be super happy and excited the whole time I'm there. And yeah, so basically this is going to be a long video, so have a seat, get a snack, get a drink, get a pen and paper so you can write some ideas down. And I hope you guys enjoy this video. Also, I'm very excited because this week that you're watching this video go up, today will be Monday. On Thursday will be my first vlog from our Disney trip in April, and I'm so excited to start putting those up because I am like so happy with how they're turning out so far. I've started editing them and they are looking good. So if you are interested in watching those, please make sure to subscribe so that you are first to know about those going up. So just kind of to preface, I am not claiming that I am an expert on planning a Disney vacation. I'm sure there are many different ways that people will plan a Disney vacation. I'm sure there's things that I do wrong and some things that I do a little bit weird that other people wouldn't do. So I'm not claiming that I'm an expert, and I'm not claiming that this is the only way that you're able to do a Disney trip, but this is how I've done it the past 2 vacations that we've had, and both have turned out to be a success. So this is just what works for me. So take this kind of advice with a grain of salt. It might not work for you if you're a family of 5, or if you're going on a solo trip. Obviously things might be a little bit different than when it's just me and my husband going. So just to kind of throw that out there. And the way that I've broken this down is I've kind of broken it down into a step-by-step process because I feel like that'll be the easiest to explain. But know that a lot of this can kind of be taken at different times, per se. Like I might prioritize one thing over another, where you might want to prioritize it differently. So just know that that also is obviously an option. This is just what works best for me. So step 1, determining your dates. So basically when you're determining your dates, you obviously are just trying to figure out when you want to go. So things that you would like to take into account for that would be the time of year that you're going. If you're going during an off season, you're going during a busy season. If you're only able to go during times that would be a busy season, maybe look into what is the least busy of the busiest seasons. I just say that because if you have kids that are in school, or if you are a teacher and you can only take time off during the summer and March break, then you obviously will have to take into account like those times. You also want to look at special events. Even if you're not going to be going to those special events, you want to know what's going on. So around Halloween time, obviously there will be Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Around Christmas time, there will be Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. What else? There is different events such as like Flower and Garden Festival, Food and Wine Festival, which are both in Epcot. So things like that. You just want to be aware of what's going on because that could also determine the crowd levels. And also it would determine the park times. When it's during the Halloween parties or the Christmas parties, Magic Kingdom is only open till 6 o'clock on those nights for regular guests, and then obviously the Halloween party and the Christmas party will run later. So if you're going at the end of October, there will be way more dates that you won't be able to go into Magic Kingdom that night. So if you're with a lot of young kids and that's what is the best, or that's the main park that you would be wanting to go in, maybe October wouldn't be the best time for you to go. Also, weather is a major thing that you want to take into account when you're determining when you want to go. If you are like myself from Canada or a colder climate, you might not do so well in the summer because you are not used to the heat that Florida has. Yes, Florida's hot, but Florida is also humid. So like dry heat and humidity heat are completely different kind of things. So that's obviously something you want to take into account. If you're going in February, know that you are literally packing for every type of weather possible. So in this process of determining dates, I use two things that like really help me. So I look at a crowd calendar, and I will link the one that I use down below. I believe it's Undercover Tourist. Yeah, so there's two that I find I agree with the most and that I find are the most informative for me. The one is Undercover Tourist, and then the other one is the WDW Prep School. Those two I find are the most accurate, and they're like normally the first one that come up on a Google search. So those two are awesome for determining when you want to go, if you want to stay away from the crowds or if you don't mind, just to kind of have an idea of what it's going to be like. And then also for weather, I just look up climate. If you go on Google and just type in Florida or like on Orlando climate for July, and then it'll give you like a rough estimate of like how much it rains, what's the high, what's the low, what's a typical week like. You can get all that information online. So those are two things that I always look, like those are tools that I use when I'm looking up determining my dates. So step number 2 is determining budget. Now, this is one that you could switch around with my step 1, which is the determining dates. I know some people obviously want to set out a budget and this is how much we're spending, so they're going to plan based on a budget. I just like to determine my dates first because I find that once you've picked your dates, you can work around a budget. I don't mean work around a budget, like we still would have a set budget of like knowing that we want to pay a certain amount of money. It's just that when you know your dates, you know what you can do. Like if we're going during an off season, it's cheaper so that we can do maybe more things or whatever. So things that will help when you're determining your budget. First, you want to know if you're going to stay on site or off site. That's the first thing really that you want to do. So staying on site does have a ton of perks, and I will always vouch for staying on site. I've stayed off site once and I've stayed on site twice now. And I just think that the pros outweigh the cons of staying on site versus off site. But yeah, that's another video in its own. You also want to look at what resort you're staying at. So I'm going to be specifically talking about if you're staying on site for most of my things, because I don't really have that much knowledge of staying off site, because when I did, I was a lot younger. But if you're staying on site, you want to pick, if we're depending on where your budget is, you'll know what kind of value or what kind of resort you'll be able to afford. So if you have a lower budget, you would look at the value resorts, which include the All-Stars, Pop Century, and what's the other one called? Art of Animation. They also have moderate resorts, which kind of are majority of the resorts, where it's like they're a nicer resort but they're not the best. And then they have deluxe, they have villas, they have everything. So when you're determining your budget, you can look and see, okay, well, how much is the cheapest resort that we could stay at, and then that's kind of where your budget is set at. Also, you want to look at what ticket type you want to buy. You can buy just a base ticket, which allows you into one park per day. You can buy a park hopper ticket, which allows you into multiple parks per day. And then you can also buy a park hopper plus ticket, which allows you into multiple parks per day, and ESPN and water parks and mini golf. So those are also options for you as well, which will all range in different prices. Also, if you are looking to add special tickets, so like I said before, like a Halloween party or a Christmas party, you would have to counter in that price. So that's another thing that you could have added to your budget. And then also a dining plan. If you're planning on using a dining plan, determining which one. There's 3 different ones that you can pick from. There is the quick service, which is just like basic kind of fast food. There is the Disney dining plan, which is like the standard one, which is 1 fast food, 1 sit down restaurant. And then there's also the deluxe dining plan, which is 3 meals a day, whatever you want to do, 2 snacks a day, whatever snacks you want to eat. It's a lot of food. I would not recommend it to most people, but yeah. So those are all things that you would take into account when you're determining your budget. Then you would go into, there's somebody walking by and Cooper has spotted them. So once you've determined your budget, then you're going to go into your booking. So now you're going to actually book your Disney vacation. So there's 2 ways to book, and this is again if you're staying on site. You can book online or on the phone. I think those are the only 2 ways. You could also go through a travel agent. I just find that part of the fun of a Disney vacation for me is the planning process. It allows you to get excited for your trip, and it allows you to really do the research and do everything yourself, and it makes sometimes what seems like a really quick trip extended over a long period of time because you're just planning and you're putting effort into it and you're doing that all yourself. So I personally don't use a travel agent because I just love doing it myself. But travel agent is obviously an option if you don't have the time to kind of dedicate to planning a Disney trip. That's 100% something that you would be able to do or that you should do. But again, for booking, for this case, this would be if you're booking yourself. So you can, like I said, do it online or by phone. And when you book your Disney vacation, all you have to pay is $200 down US. And then when however long you've booked in advance, the final amount is due 30 days before your check-in date. So basically about a month before your vacation, your entire payment is due, but you can pay it however you want. So if you want to pay $1,000 down, if you know that that's how much you have and you want to put $1,000 down, you can do that. The minimum amount is $200, so you put $200 down and then you can pay it however you want. You can do, all right, every month we're gonna put $500 on, we'll pay it off in 4 months or whatever. That'd be a pretty cheap vacation, but anyways. And another tip that I have for booking is as soon as you've booked, so if you're online and you've booked your vacation, pick up the phone and call Disney and see what deals they have, because they will have deals no matter what time of year you're going. Just sometimes they're not super visible online. So if you just pick up the phone and call and say, hi, I've just booked my vacation. This is my reservation number. Are there any deals that we can add to my package? And most of the time there will be a deal. So I just find it just makes sense to call. If you call and they don't have a deal, call back in a month, call back in 2 months, call back in 3 months. At some point there will be a deal. They're always releasing deals all the time. So, and they will add it to your package. Even if you've had your package booked for 5 months and you've already made payments to it, if you want to make any type of change, if you see on the TV that they're advertising for Canadian residents, it's like cheaper for, it's like 25% off park tickets or whatever. You can call them up and say, hi, I would like that deal, and they will put that on your account, because we did that a couple times when we went on our honeymoon vacation, and they are totally fine with that. And then another tip for booking is when you are on the phone with them, let them know if there's anything going on for your trip. If you are celebrating a birthday, if you're celebrating an anniversary, if you are celebrating a graduation, if you're celebrating your honeymoon, they will leave that on your file, and they will give you a little bit of extra Disney magic while you are there. And it doesn't hurt to say that you're celebrating. Disney's whole thing is that they want you to be celebrating. They're like, what are you celebrating today? What are you celebrating today? They know that this is an expensive vacation and most people go to celebrate something. So you can let them know and shout it from the rooftops, and you will, I don't want to say you'll be rewarded, because it's not like you'll get free stuff every time, whatever, but it's like, it just lets people know that you have something special going on, so they might do little treats here and there. For example, during our honeymoon, I had booked just a standard room. I didn't request any type of room, nothing. But when I had called to make changes to our reservation, I think we added a couple days. So when I called to make that reservation, they were like, oh, are you celebrating anything? And I was like, oh yeah, actually it's our honeymoon. So they wrote that on there, and when we got there, we got a preferred room. We were literally right beside the food court and the bus stops at Pop Century, and we got upgraded to a king size, like a king bedroom. So we had like a king size bed, and normally that would be considered a preferred room, but we had all that upgrade for free. So just a tip, let them know if you're celebrating anything. Step 4 would be start your research. So once you have booked your trip, you know you're going, you know your dates, you know what you're doing, what, like, you know when you're going, you know what resort you're staying at, you know if you have a dining plan or not. This is when you're going to start really doing research. I'm sure you've done a ton of research already at this point, so I'm sure that, like, if you're watching this video, you already know that the amount of research that goes into a Disney vacation if you want to get the most out of it, but I will just kind of go through all the different things that you can look up. The first thing that I like to do is, if you are on a dining plan, or even if you're not on a dining plan but you still kind of want to do some dining, look up the dining, look up what the quick service restaurants are, look up what the table service restaurants are, look up what character breakfasts are or character dining, or look up what the signature dining is. Just do your research and know where you want to eat, what kind of type of food that you want to eat, all that kind of, what experience you want to eat, like what you want to experience while you're eating. There is something for everybody at Disney. If you have a super picky eater in your party and they're like, I only want chicken strips and mac and cheese, they are pretty much able to eat at every Disney resort. But if you're going for more a sophisticated meal, you can eat at places like California Grill, or you can eat at Le Cellier or Narcoossee's. I just named my top 3 restaurants. But you could eat at places like that, or you can look at, if you're on the quick service dining plan, you can look at what are the best quick service meals. So for us, like Pecos Bill is an amazing spot for quick service because you can use 1 quick service credit and you literally will have a meal for 2 people with 1 quick service credit because of the portion size. Or you could look up, like, okay, I really want hot dogs. All right, so you would go to Casey's in Magic Kingdom. Or if you want to have pulled pork in Animal Kingdom, you can go to Flame Tree Barbecue. There is so many different options that you can take when you're looking at food at Disney. So really do your research. I know that the best place that I like to go to is Disney Food Blog. They have obviously a blog and they also have a YouTube channel here, and I will link both down below. AJ, I think, is like the main girl on there. She is a saint. She knows everything about anything food at Disney, and she will tell you straight up what is good, what is not good, what is like what you should be trying, what you shouldn't be trying. She is awesome, so I will totally link her stuff below. Another thing that you should be researching is rides. What rides do you want to do? Are you a thrill seeker? Are you, I don't want to do any thrill rides? Do you have small children with you? Look up how tall you have to be to ride certain rides. Make sure that they're meeting those requirements before you go and book your fast passes, which I'll get to later. Those are all things you have to take into account. You don't want to have planned and like tell your little kids that, oh, we're gonna go on all these crazy rides and we're gonna go on Everest and blah blah blah, and then when you get there they're not tall enough and then it's a letdown. So you want to be prepared for those things and know what rides you'd be able to do, what rides you wouldn't be able to do, things like that. So other things to research would be special events. So like I mentioned before, the Halloween party and the Christmas party, those are ticketed events, so you actually have to pay extra on top of a park ticket to get in. Those ones you actually don't have to buy a park ticket for, which is lucky. If you're doing something like a tour, then you would have to pay for your park ticket. Plus on top of that, you would have to pay for the tour price. So look up different tours that you can do. Look up the events that you can do while you're there. Look up what kind of festivals are going on. At Epcot, I feel like there is always a festival going on now. So if you're going in the spring, there is Flower and Garden Festival. If you're going in the fall, there is Food and Wine Festival. I think like beginning, like it's like kind of winter, but it's like basically like January to right before Flower and Garden Festival starts. You have Festival of the Arts. So you have all these different events that you can attend while you're at Epcot, which are all free. They're included in your park ticket, so like take advantage of those. Look up what's available while you're there, if there's any type of extras that you can do while you're there, stuff like that. Just know ahead of time what events are going on during the time that you're going. Another thing to do is to look up things outside of Disney. If you're going for a 5-day vacation, you might not have time to do things outside of Disney. But if you're going for 10 days, if you're going for 12 days, if you're going for 14 days, like, you never know. When we went for, it was 12 days, which included our travel days. So look up things outside of Disney. There's Universal that you could go to if you're interested in more thrill rides, or if you're interested in Harry Potter. There is golf courses scattered throughout Florida. There is beaches close by. There is, I don't know, like, there's other things to do outside of Disney if you need that break. You can also go to Disney Springs, which is obviously Disney inspired still, but it's basically just like a shopping center owned by Disney. I don't want to say shopping center. It's like an outdoor, yeah, it's like an outdoor shopping center basically. But you don't need a park ticket to get in. It's totally free of charge to go, even if you just want to walk around. Definitely not free of charge to be there, because you most likely will spend a lot of money while you're down there, but it's an option if you want to do something else. Things that we like to do, we've gone to Topgolf last time, like the last 2 times we've been there, which is like, if you are a golfer, or even if you're not a golfer, it is so much fun. It's so easy, and it's something that I highly would recommend to go and do. It is like, it seriously is so much fun. But yeah, so things outside of Disney, look up what else if you need a break. Even if you want to just have a day at your resort, like, research those things that you might want to do. Even if you're like not 100% on if you want to do them or not, still look it up, because obviously it doesn't hurt. So with research, this is the time where I start plugging it into a spreadsheet. So I like to stay organized when I'm making my Disney plans. I like to strategically plan out my days. Normally what I do is I kind of do like a rough draft in my notes on my phone. I'll basically just do like however many, so if we're going from like a Monday to a Friday, I would never do a trip that short, but if we're going from a Monday to a Friday, I would just write out each day. I would kind of throw in like, okay, well, we want to be in Magic Kingdom this day, and Epcot this day, and Animal Kingdom this day, and whatever. So I kind of do a rough draft on there. And then I also use, this is the spreadsheet that Charlotte Ruff, who also is here on YouTube, who is like the queen of doing Disney planning, she put up her spreadsheet, and this is just what I've always used when I do my planning, because I find it's just like, it makes sense to me how it's planned out. So I'll show you quickly here. Basically how she has it laid out is she has like, you would write in your park hours here, you'd write in what park you want to go to, you write in your fast passes, you would write in your dining reservations, all that kind of information, and then it's all just in one spot. And I will link this also down below in case you guys are interested in looking at it, or if you're like planning the same type of way, I'll link that. And then I'll also link her planning video where she talks about this spreadsheet, because I feel like that's obviously the right thing to do, because I did not make this by any means. I just use it and it works really well for me. So once you've done all your research, hopefully this is many, many days before your trip would even be happening. Now is when you would be going into your dining reservations. So if you are doing any type of sit down meals, you would be interested in knowing about the dining reservation process. So basically the way that it works is that even if you're staying on site or off site, you get to book 180 days before your trip for your dining. Yes, 180 days before your trip for dining. It is a long time in advance. I know it's crazy, but I'm telling you that places will book up within the hour that the 180 day mark has arisen. So if you want to eat at Cinderella's Castle, I don't recommend that. But if you want to eat there, you have to be on the Disney webpage at 7 a.m. on 180 days before your check-in to book that reservation. I am just warning you now. That is how it works. It is crazy how quickly things book up. So before that 180 day mark, you want to make sure that you know exactly what you want to eat, when you want to eat, and where you want to eat. I say this because when it comes down to it, if you're booking, like if you have a 7-day trip and you're booking a dinner for every single day of that trip, you're gonna have to be booking them back to back to back to back to back, all at once, and you have to know what you're doing, when you're doing, what's the most popular, what's the least popular, what you should be booking first versus last. Basically, it's a lot more of a video to explain how the dining process, like the dining reservation process works. There's plenty of videos online that explain it. So my main tips for booking dining would be, number one is don't book in order of actual dates that you're going, book in order of popularity. So if you want to eat at Be Our Guest restaurant for breakfast or for dinner, I would do that as your very first booking, and then I would work my way back from there. There's plenty of tools online, I'm sure, that say like what is most popular and what is least popular. I know off the top of my head that if you want to eat at Cinderella's Royal Table, that should be one of the first things you book. If you want to eat at Be Our Guest, that should be one of the first things that you book. I know Le Cellier was up there every once in a while. If you're going during like a busier time, that's one that you really need to get booking right away. I'm sure there's others, but those are like the 3 that I can think of right now that are like ones you want to book right away. Another thing that I would recommend is trying to book for times that are a little bit off of a typical dinner or breakfast or lunchtime. So if you're trying to get a really hard sought after reservation, I would try and book at times not necessarily on like a typical like dinner time. So normally dinner would be around like 5 to 6. Try and get your reservation for 4 or for 7. If you're okay to like eat earlier or eat later, because that way it's more likely that you'd be able to get a reservation. Another thing would be try and get those reservations near the end of your trip. The way that it works is that if you're staying on site, you get to book 180 days of your entire vacation. So if somebody had their vacation start 5 days before you, they'd be able to book right into your beginning of your vacation. So if you're booking near the end, it's more likely that there's more spots available, if that makes sense. Like I said, I could go on for hours about dining reservations, so I will just kind of leave that as it is. If you want more information on it, if you would like to see a video of that, let me know and I'd be happy to do a whole video on that. I just would not be able to explain it all in the proper time for this video. So step number 6 would be fast passes. So if you're staying on site, you can book your fast passes 60 days in advance. And if you're staying off site, you can book your fast passes 30 days in advance. And the way the fast passes work is you are able to book 3 fast passes per day per park. Not per park, you're able to book 3 fast passes for 1 day for 1 park. That makes more sense. So different parks run on a different type of system for booking fast passes. So Magic Kingdom, you can book anything as of right now. You can book anything for your fast passes. It doesn't matter what rides you do. You can book 3 fast passes and they have to be within an hour apart of when you're booking them. For Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom, they all work on a tier system. So there's a tier 1 and a tier 2. Tier 1 are the more like intense rides or the more popular rides. So you're only able to book 1 fast pass from a tier 1 ride. And then for tier 2, you're able to book the other 2 fast passes from there. So for example, at Hollywood Studios right now, they have Slinky Dog and Fantasmic and Midway Mania as a tier 1 fast pass. So you're able to book 1 of those, and then all the rest of their rides are considered a tier 2, so you can book 2 of those. So if you wanted to do Slinky Dog, and then you could do Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, those would be your 3 fast passes. Once you have used your fast passes, this is obviously getting into your actual vacation. Once you've used your fast passes, you can go in and book more, but for pre-booking, you can only book 3. And again, I hope that you would do research and know what rides you want to do before that 30-day or 60-day timestamp. That way you're able to know how to book your fast passes and you know what fast passes you want to get and what you want to do. And again, my tips would be book in order of popularity. So don't be booking a Small World fast pass first and then Flight of Passage last. book those highly sought after rides first. So Flight of Passage would be one of your first, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train would be one of your first. I just said it. Slinky Dog would be one of your first. If you're going during the opening of Star Wars Land, I am sure the new Star Wars rides would be one of your first that you'd be selecting. So yeah, so just do your research and know what rides you'd be able to ride, what rides you'd want to ride, and what you'd want to use as Fast Pass. And finally, my final step, I feel like this video has taken so long, is just be open for changes. So once you have made all of your plans, you have filled out your spreadsheet, and you have completely just like planned everything, you've planned every minute of every day, be open for changes. When you get to Disney, things will go wrong. Things will change. It will pour down rain one day, and your Seven Dwarfs Mine Train Fast Pass will be canceled, and you will have to do something different. You will go and you will not realize the actual humidity and how actual hot it is, and you're like, I cannot stay in the park the whole day. So you will have to cancel your Fast Pass for 1 a.m. or for 1 p.m. and you'll have to go back to your hotel to sit in the pool. It is okay. Be open for change. You are in Disney. You will be having the best time no matter what. So if something doesn't go as planned, obviously it's annoying because you've been planning and you've been preparing and you've been ready forever for this trip. But when you take a step back and think about it, you're still in Disney and you're still enjoying it and you're still having the best time. I'm like smiling ear to ear because I'm thinking about it right now, but it's okay. Disney does a great job at what they do. They will help you as much as they can if something gets canceled or if something doesn't go the way that you need to. All right, sorry, my camera died, so this is probably in a different position than it was. But like I said, go talk to people at Guest Relations and see if they're able to help you out. See if there's any last minute reservations for something that you weren't able to get a reservation for. You never know what Disney can do. Cast members have a lot of magic that they're able to grant. So if you're just nice and if you are just open for change and you're open to be like, it's okay, something didn't go great, but you know what? I have the rest of my vacation to have and this is still gonna be a fun time for me. Magic will come your way. So just know that it's okay if something goes wrong. It's okay if something doesn't go to plan. You are still at Disney. You will still have an amazing time and things will just work out as they should. So anyways, that was the longest video ever. It is probably super scattered and I am so sorry if there was things that you didn't quite understand. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will be happy to help, and I will be happy to point you in the right direction of different resources or tools that you might need that I might not be able to help you with. But please ask, and yeah, I hope you guys took something from this video. If you liked it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!